Lo puse en la.
Está marcado ahí, yo lo veo. Ahí te fijas. Te voy a dejar el nombre de ella. Más complicado el nombre.
את נשמתה, אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח שלום על משכבה.
El nombre de ella es Adasa. Lo voy a dejar acá. Lo voy a dejar acá. Adasa Bat Avram. Leiza Behanan Liba.
Está marcada.
Interment will be at Mount Hope Cemetery. The family of Elaine Gold will receive friends for Shiva at 110 Dinawood Drive. Today, Monday, from 7 to 9. Tomorrow, Tuesday, from 2 to 4, 7 to 9. And on Wednesday, from 1 to 3. If you pick up one of these sheets, you'll have the map and how to get to the residence. If you further want to honor the memory of Elaine Gold, you may do so by making contributions to the Jewish Federation of Greater Rochester, Temple Bethel, or the charity of your choice. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo echsach, בנודה שירביצני, על מי מנוחות ינהלני. נפשי ישובב, ינחני במקצדק למען שמו, גם כי אלך בגיא צל מוות, לא ירא רע, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך, המה ינחמוני, תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, דשנת בשמן ראשי כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight path for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod, thy staff, they comfort me. Thou prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Now it is my honor to call upon Elaine's grandchildren, David and Elisa, to speak.
Thank you all for being here. I am going to read this on behalf of our cousin Kate, who is unable to be here because she's 7.5 months pregnant. And so, hi, Kate. How lucky have I been? In our family, we always joked about who was Elaine's favorite, but really, she just had a rare superpower. She made every single one of us feel that way. She had a gift for making people feel adored, important, and truly seen. My Lainey was extraordinary, and she made an indelible imprint on me. Here are 3 gifts I will cherish, live by, and pass on to my children. Give generously of your time, your love, and your treasure. I can still picture the mountain of solicitations from organizations across the country piled by her mail. I once asked her why there were so many and if she needed help organizing them. She told me that she tried to give to everyone who took the time to ask because she felt so lucky. Even when she couldn't give a lot, she always wanted to be generous. She modeled that for all of us. 2, choose optimism. I've often told people that my positivity comes from my grandmother, and it's true. For years, I called her to vent or complain, and she always found a way to gently reframe whatever I was carrying. Most recently, when I told her how achy and huge I felt in this late pregnancy, she just smiled and said, "All good. It's a sign you can eat more cookies." That was her. Light, love, levity, always. 3, family first. A deep pride in our fierce line of women. I was raised in a family of strong, loving women who show up for each other without hesitation. One of the things I'll miss most is ending our Passover Seders by belting out "God Bless America," followed by Hatikva, Israel's national anthem meaning hope. Elaine would sing with absolute conviction, despite not being able to carry a tune, and it always made me chuckle and feel connected. May her memory forever be a blessing. Now I'm going to say something. Sorry, don't think I'll get through this, but. My Lainey, she always called me her mermaid, half daughter, half granddaughter, and that was exactly what our bond felt like, something magical and rare. When I was little, I used to climb into her bed at night to make sure she wasn't scared. Of course, now I know I was the one who really needed her comfort, her warmth, her steady presence, and she gave it freely always. I will miss her calls, the ones reminding me to buy the girls a dress, or shoes, or jackets, or books. The ones filled with I love yous, said with certainty that wrapped around you like a hug. She loved deeply, loudly, and without hesitation. On one of our last visits, as we were leaving, Jamie, my 2.5-year-old, started to cry. And when we asked her why, she said, "Because I didn't get to play long enough." And I think that's exactly how we all feel right now. We didn't get to love her, laugh with her, learn from her for as long as we wanted. But we are so grateful for her love, her lessons, her strength, and the way she shaped every one of us. Thank you, Lainey, for everything. We love you.
I'm sorry to see you all. Thank you for being here. It's a little surreal being up here. Elaine was just always around, just there as part of our lives. She called me Dida, a name I called myself as I was learning to speak. Because I couldn't say David, we would joke back and forth, me saying David, or Dida, her saying David, over and over. Dida, no David. Dida, no David. Until it became clear we were both stubborn and wouldn't give in. But we both eventually won. I eventually learned to say David, and she started calling me Dida. I was fortunate to spend so much of my childhood with her. I remember laying on the floor by her refrigerator on Irving while she cooked. She taught me how to make Swedish meatballs and showed me how to make unbelievably bland chicken soup that I loved and devoured anyway. And when Len would pick her up for a date night before they were married, him coming into her family room with that high-backed brown velvet couch, gross, like a gentleman to meet the family, to give us all warm hellos, and to take her lovingly to dinner. When I was even younger, I would sneak into her bed in the mornings to be close. And when I ran out of underwear, maybe because my mom isn't known for being clean, or because I was too lazy to go downstairs, she would offer me to share some of her clean underwear. Weirdly, Uncle Pierce did the same thing when I'd go visit him to go for a bike ride. It's a strange family tradition, and it's one I hope not to pass on. She had unbelievable patience. We had a tradition where she would buy me shoes every year at Altiers in 12 Corners. She was focused on style, or I was focused on style, she was focused on comfort and fit. But every time I would try on almost every available shoe, or every shoe, and she wouldn't rush me. Every other family member who came only came once. It was a long adventure, but she treasured the time together. It wasn't about the speed of the activity. It was about being together. After I left Rochester and got older, she always wanted to treat me to enjoy something. Go out to dinner. Just tell your mother, and she'll take care of it. Each time I moved, get a mezuzah. Just tell your mother, she'll take care of it. After I met Lauren, take Lauren somewhere for a date. Just tell your mom, she'll take care of it. And after I had kids, get them a new outfit for Rosh Hashanah. Just tell your mother, Venmo her. She was unbelievably generous, and she also has had an amazing personal assistant. Every person here has talked to me about how Elaine was the center of the family, the epitome of a matriarch. She was kind, she was welcoming to all new family members. John, Lauren, Mike, Clark, Kendall, and on and on. But what always amazed me most is how satisfied she was with her life. This is not because everything was perfect. It was not always easy for her, but you would almost never know that. It wasn't that she was hiding her troubles. It was just that she focused on what she did have. A great upbringing surrounded by family, 2 amazing marriages, beautiful and loving daughters, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and all of your love. Just look around this room. My mother and aunts expressed this perfectly in the obituary, how lucky she felt she was, and how lucky we all were, and how lucky we are to have known her and to still have her with us. She was not scared of the end because she had everything she ever wanted: love and family. I can only wish to have that kind of comfort with my life and to share that unbelievably strong contentment with those around me. I'd love to finish with just one more thing. As she got older, she was always afraid she'd forget a birthday. So every year I'd get 2 songs. One, the day before when she remembered, and one on my actual birthday after my mom would remind her. She was always happy with today, and we will always have tomorrow to look forward to.
This is for tomorrow, Dita. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, my dear David. Happy birthday to you. Love you, honey.
Love you, lady.
Thank you, Lisa and David. It is now my honor to call upon John Robertson to speak.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. It's kind of hard to follow that one. I know David was going to do something. I have to be honest with you. I've done a lot of public speaking in my life and in my professional life. And then when Jody said, "Are you going to say something today for Elaine?" At first I said, "No, I don't know if I can do it." And then I thought about it. You know, I was welcomed into this family over 25 years ago. And Lainey, she never asked a question: why, what, who, how come? And I appreciated that. And before I start trying to describe who I saw Elaine Gold as the past 25 years, I want to say something to Sherwin Weinstein. Last night, I was walking through the house, and I saw Elaine's wedding picture. It's like a 16 by 20. I don't even think they make that size anymore. And I've seen it numerous times, especially when I'm cleaning the house and dusting. But last night I stopped and I looked at it, and I know that you have said over the years how beautiful she was and how you wanted to marry her, your own cousin. And I looked at her and I went back in the room. Jody was half asleep, and I said, "How old was Elaine in that picture?" And she said, 19. How beautiful she is. And I thought about you. I almost started to cry then, but I said, you know what? He was right. And our granddaughter, Kaya, who's 5 years old, we were at her birthday party last night. She loves to be a princess. I have to tell you, Liz, when you see Kaya, you tell her. I'm going to show her Elaine's picture. I don't think we ever have. Elaine looked just like a princess. And I thought of Kaya. So with that, Sherwin, you were so right. She was absolutely stunning. I didn't say it too loud around my wife, because I don't know if I've said that to her, but she's beautiful too. But Elaine was absolutely gorgeous. So I understand why you wanted to marry your cousin. So I said to myself when Jody asked me, was I going to say something? I wanted to not do it, but you know, Elaine has had such a profound effect on my life these past 25 years. How could I not? How could I sit out there today and not get up here and say something? She would be so disappointed. So I said, how do I describe Elaine Gold? And this is the last time you'll hear me say Elaine, because she was mom to me. Now, there were 5 things that I said, well, will help guide my remarks. And number 1, she was brutally honest, whether you liked it or not. And she would say, well, that's too bad. She was a great cook. She loved gardening, which she taught me a lot about. She cherished her family to no end. And she was a dear friend to many of her friends for life. So just talking about brutally honest, and I'll try my best to stay with the remarks that I have here, and I apologize for looking down, but I don't want to ramble on. And I know you don't want me to ramble on. But as I said, Elaine welcomed me into the family with open arms. And then when I told her that I wanted to marry her daughter, she looked at me and she said, okay. And she smiled. That's all she said. And then when I told her I wanted to convert to Judaism, she said, well, you give it your all. So I studied with the rabbi for, 6 months in his study every Tuesday. I also studied with the visiting rabbi, Rabbi Tut from Israel. He was a big man, a little scary. Said a lot of things in Yiddish, and I went back to Mom and she would translate it for me. But I'd come back after every session and she'd ask me, did I have any questions? What did I learn? And I'd tell her. And then I went to the mikveh. And she said, how did that go? I said, well, I went down twice. I came up out of the water in my birthday suit. Rabbi Tut, instead of handing me a towel, he handed me a washcloth. I'm thinking, what, they don't have any money for towels here? But I got through it. The only thing Mom said was, well, at least you didn't drown. I said, okay, that's the end of that conversation. And then my last act before I was fully converted was my bris. I came here to Bethel, right in the rabbi's study, and the moil came. I saw him get out the car through the rabbi's window, and they said, the moil's here. He went in his trunk, he pulled out this black bag, and I'm thinking, what are they getting ready to do to me? He came in, we did that. I came home, Mom said, how'd your bris go? I said, well, Mom, that was a little painful. I said, I didn't quite understand the need for that. She said, well, I said, because it was painful and it hurt. And she said, well, you know what? It was supposed to hurt. So you'll never forget the commitment that you're making to Judaism. And I sat there and I said, well, that's the end of that conversation. But you're right, Mom. I have never forgotten that. 25 years later, I'm still talking about it. She was right about so many things, but she was brutally honest. I went to her after my second year of Passover with the family, and I don't know what I was thinking. I went to the matriarch of the family, and I'm whining about there was very little for me to eat. Mom looked at me and she said, "John, you have one or two choices. You cannot eat for a week and lose some weight." I kind of rolled my eyes some. She said, "Or you can eat potatoes and eggs for the next week and get over it." I said, "Okay." I walked out with my head down and said, how stupid was I to go in there and ask that? But she was a great cook. That was one of the things that I really did get used to after converting. There were two things that Mom made that I loved more than anything else, and I loved being with her. And it was really almost nearly this time of year. It'll be next month. It was during Hanukkah. She made the best potato latkes anybody could ever want. And I would eat those until I was about sick. But the thing that she did make, and I never got used to brisket or corned beef. They're okay. But Mom made a mean prime rib. And she'd let me cut it or carve it for the family before we were to sit down. So I'd carve it up. We'd put it on the platters. We'd take it out to the dining room where everybody was. And then Elaine and I would go back in the kitchen. And we would eat every bit of carving that were on those bones in about 2 or 3 minutes, and nobody knew the difference. They kept saying, "Are you coming out? Are you coming out?" We were just finishing up. Mom and I were so full of grease when we came back to the table, you would not believe it. That was very special to me. I made a prime rib a couple months ago. Jody and I were in the kitchen, and I was carving it up. And I said to myself, you know what, there are 3 bones here. I'm going to take these to Elaine for lunch. And Jody said, well, I said, you think she'll like that? Jody said, she probably will. And Elaine loved a good salad. So I made her a salad. We took those 3 bones with all that meat on them over to the home. And if you didn't know Elaine, there was one thing that she always did. She would never really tell you how she felt about anything, truly. And at many times, she would tell you just the opposite of how she really felt. If you asked her, how did you like that? If Elaine said, well, it was okay, or it was all right, I said to myself under my breath, she hated it. And then I asked Elaine, I said, how did you like those bones with that salad that I sent up here the other day? She said it was terrible. She loved it, and I knew she did. So I felt good about that. Elaine loved gardening, and she instilled that in me too. Even to this day, I plant an array of flowers in front of our house. There's so many out there you wouldn't believe it. People come by all summer and they say how beautiful they are and how'd you do that? I never tell them. But Mom, she gave me the secret. She said, WFW, water them, feed them, and weed them. I do that the entire summer. And then in the fall, when all those flowers are mature and the hot sun of August stops beating on them, they don't need water every day. But in the fall of their life, they are so beautiful because they're mature, they're colorful, and you know you've done a good job. And you know, I never really cared much about how people and what they said about how beautiful the flowers were. We would either take a picture over to Mom and let her see them, and this year we had the family reunion at our clubhouse. And so the driver brought Mom around by our house. She took a look at those flowers. I asked her, how she felt about them. She said they were absolutely gorgeous. And so I knew that I had done a good job, because that's all that mattered to me. So finally, Mom, she cherished her family to no end. And if you ever said anything about them or did something to them, you would certainly hear about it from Elaine or Mom. Mom lived for her 3 daughters. They were her life. Marcy Shapiro, Lori Belza, and my wife, Jody Roberson. Whoever was in front of her on any given day was her favorite. Her love for her grand and great-grandchildren, as you heard, was amazing. She thought the world of her son-in-laws. Dr. Joel Shapiro, he was her medical advisor. Edwin Belza, he was her physical therapist. For every ache and pain and whatever she could do, she questioned him. And John, the one she called her son, because he had the curly black hair like her. I loved her so much. She was the best example of what a mom should be: nurturing, tough but fair, very thoughtful in every way imaginable. Most of all, she was very loving. She was the best mom I had ever known. And she was the best mom anyone could ever ask for. Friends for life. Mom had many close friends. Some she knew for nearly 70 years or more, who loved and loves her very much. Herb Morris, who just turned 100, 101. We should all be so lucky. Right now, he's in the hospital. And his wife called Jody last night, and she was just crying on the phone because she wanted to be here. And it took Jody at least 15 minutes to console her and convince her that it was okay that she wasn't here today, because she wanted to be here so bad for Elaine. But she needs to be there with Herb, her husband. He's having some heart issues at 101. I thought that was so amazing. It was just unbelievable. But those are the kind of friends that Elaine had, still has, and how much they really do care about her. I certainly understand that. So in closing, in Rochester we have a restaurant called Mama G's. I don't go there too often, but some of the family do. Well, I realized the other day, I was sitting at home and I was thinking about Elaine, and I said, you know what? We have a Mama G ourselves. Every last name that Elaine had over 90 years started with a G. She grew up as a Gaff. Her first marriage, she was a Groden. And her last love, she became a Gold. And how fitting was that she wound up as a Gold? Because Mom was as precious as gold. You couldn't ask for a better, kinder, sweeter, loving person. I'll miss her dearly. Love you always, Mom. May your memory be a blessing to all of us. And before I leave, the boss told me to say, the family wanted to thank everyone for being here today and for all the kind prayers and wishes during this most difficult time. Thanks.
Thank you, John. It is now my honor to call upon Rabbi Silvana Bachman.
In our tradition, before Shabbat begins, many Jewish families recite Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor. It is an ancient poem from the book of Proverbs that describes a woman whose strength is expressed not only in what she accomplishes, but in how she cares, how she gives, how she meets life with dignity and joy. Not every woman fits that description, but those who knew Elaine, Hadassah bat Avram Leiser v'Chana Liva, did not need a poem to imagine a woman of valor. We all had the privilege of knowing a real one. Her life was not measured in public achievements, but in devotion, in kindness and resilience and generosity. Proverbs 31:18 says, "Velo yichve balayla nera." Her light does not go out at night. Even now, the light of her life continues in all who were shaped by her love. Elaine was born in Buffalo, New York on June 1st, 1935, into a warm Jewish home. Her sister Karen told me that she had a very close and unique relationship with her father, real conversations, and permission to express herself. She kept that honesty and directness her entire life. As the oldest of three, Elaine took charge. She would tell Sandy and Karen, "I'm the oldest, so you have to listen to me." She took them to the beach, and she didn't panic even when Sandy leaned over the railing and gave everyone else a heart attack. She wasn't nervous. She trusted life, and she trusted people she loved. She had a wonderful childhood full of family and lots of cousins. She grew up in a conservative Shabbat observant home, walking to shul, keeping kosher, and yet, as Jody told me, she had a little naughty streak, like going to the movies on Shabbat with tickets bought before candlelighting. From early on, she loved people, stories, and the small freedoms that made life interesting. One of the most formative chapters of her life came after high school in 1952, when she traveled by ship to Israel with the Yehuda Bonim and worked on a kibbutz in the northern Galilee for almost a year. There she received her Hebrew name, Hadassah, the name she carried proudly for the rest of her life, and the name we use today when we pray for her soul. When she returned, she had already been accepted to university, but a young man she had met before the trip proposed. And because this was before computers, the classes she wanted were already full, so she made a different decision. She got married. She was 19. Elaine and her first husband, Joseph Groden, lived in Newport, Rhode Island, where Joe served in the Navy. They later moved here to Rochester, and Joe became the first president of Beth Am in Henrietta. And Elaine took pride in building a vibrant Jewish life at home. Together, they were blessed with 3 daughters, Jody, Lori, and Marcy. They did not have a lot of money, but they had clear priorities. Education came first. They lived simply so the girls could have what truly mattered. She gave them freedom, but with watchful love. Elaine would let them stay out late, but if someone was still there at 2 a.m., she would quietly call the house phone and say, "Don't you think it's time for him to go home?" That was Elaine, calm, wise, and completely in control. Their one luxury was Broadway. They would see multiple shows in a short time, including the one that introduced them to Mama, a Rainbow, the song we will hear later today. That song became the musical shorthand for who she was: comfort, warmth, and color. Elaine's home was always open. Friends came over after school, they were fed, listened to, and made them feel at home. She worried about the boys who were too thin and the football players who ate everything in sight. People came for advice, as her girls told me, and always felt feeling better. She quietly encouraged everyone, not just her daughters or their friends. She encouraged workers who came to the house, neighbors, even me, to go back to school, to change jobs, to believe in themselves. If people took the time to know her, they loved her for life. Her marriage to Joe ended in divorce, and it was painful, and yet her daughters told me that she always felt she had a wonderful life. After the divorce, she trained herself as a bookkeeper, and later she became a payroll administrator. Her work was honest, reliable, and trusted. She many times took the bus to work so that her teenage daughter could have the car. She didn't need it, but that was Elaine. In time, Elaine was blessed with a second great love, her husband, Len Gold, another pharmacist. The day Jody and John went to get their marriage license, much to their surprise, they found out that Elaine and Len had been there that very same morning. In the end, both couples married on the same day, New Year's Day, 1997. Elaine took care of her beloved Len and spent countless hours with him when he was at the Jewish home. She would later say, with pride and with humor, "I was lucky. I was loved by two men." Elaine became the center of her family, and everybody gathered around her. Her acceptance to others was not abstract. It lived in her family. Whatever direction life took, she absorbed it with humor, with honesty, and acceptance. Her daughters said that nothing was off limits, and nothing broke her love. And everyone felt that. Her grandchildren felt it especially. They could call her anytime, in college, late at night, and she would always pick up. Each one felt the favorite, and they weren't wrong. Many people outside the family have told Jody this same thing: "Your mom is my favorite. Don't tell anyone." Her cooking was legendary, not just the chicken soup or the lemon meringue pie, but also the way she doubled up recipes so people could take food home, making sure there was always something special for everyone. Last month we made kugel at the Jewish home, and it was wonderful that she made it with us. She was part of the cooking. And then she was very honest when the potato kugel wasn't cooked enough, it didn't need more salt, but we had fun and we laughed about it. Jewish life was the heartbeat of who she was. Shabbat candles every week, holiday tables. When she was able to come to Temple Bethel, she sat on her side of the sanctuary at Temple Bethel, eventually wearing the talit that she loved. And when she couldn't come in person, she watched online whenever the technology cooperated. And then on Monday, she will come back and tell me, "I love the way you sang with your son," or "You were holding a baby. Who was that baby?" She was so engaged and lovingly would tell me about it. This past Yom Kippur, she insisted on being here with absolute realism and faith. At the Jewish home, she participated in every Jewish program I planned. She was my biggest supporter. And Lori knew not to call at 2 p.m. on Fridays because that was our time to sing Shabbat songs together. She supported local Jewish organizations and national ones, groups fighting anti-Semitism, Israel-related causes, and programs like Birthright and Repair the World that engage young Jews in Jewish life and social justice. It was beautiful to see also the way she interacted in our intergenerational programs at the Jewish home. She was always the person to talk to. She would give advice, she would listen, and she will encourage young Jewish people to do Jewish, to learn more, and to enjoy our traditions. Her daughters describe her as liberal in her thoughts and conservative with her money, careful and modest in her own spending, but generous to the causes she believed in. That combination showed up in small, funny ways too. At the Jewish home, she was very upset when they stopped giving out prize money for bingo, because she liked to have a little extra cash to get her hair done, and she didn't want it to come from out of the girl's inheritance. Elaine aged the same way that she lived, with dignity, with humor, with gratitude. Looking good mattered to her. Her hair, her nails, her suntan, her lipstick. At Walk Manor and later at the Jewish home, she was lovingly nicknamed the mayor, checking in on residents, noticing who wasn't well, asking staff to look on someone. Even as her world grew smaller, her care for others never did. She also made her wishes very clear, again and again, so her daughters would not be burdened with impossible decisions. Even when she was barely verbal in the hospital, she found ways to let them know what she wanted and what she did not. When I asked her daughters what they will carry from her, this is what they told me. Lori said that she hopes to continue her mother's love for family and her spirit of acceptance. Elaine was deeply wise, not book smart, but life smart. And she knew everyone would ultimately follow their own path, and she was fine with that. Marcy spoke about her attitude. Even when she didn't feel well, she would say, "I'm good." Elaine was not a saint on high. She kept her humor, her gratitude, and her resilience. And Jody added the most honest teaching. It's okay to be a little bad, a little naughty. Elaine was not a saint on high. She was real. And that's what made her so special to all of us. Elaine leaves behind her beloved daughters and beloved son-in-laws, Jody and John, Lori and Edwin, Marcy and Joel, her adored grandchildren, David and Lauren, Elisa and Mike, Kate and Clark, Sarah and Kendall, John and Anila and Julie, and great-grandchildren, Kaya, Jamie, Ben, Lila, Jading, and Maddie. She leaves behind her siblings, Sandy and Ed, Karen, her brother-in-law, Marv, and a vast extended family of cousins and friends. She also leaves behind a chosen family, dear friends, and many staff and residents of the Jewish home and the Walk Manor, the community here at Temple Bethel, and all those who, like me, quietly claim her as our favorite. What is her legacy? It is in the long leash that steady protection. It is in unconditional love, the kind that answers the phone every time. It is in the lives she changed with quiet encouragement. It is in the way she stayed rooted to Judaism and opened her arms wide to the world. It is in the realism and humor with which she faced the end of life. And it is in her own words. I lived the best life in the world. I had everything. And so we return to the words of Eshet Chayil. Tlula mi priya dea, ve'aleluha basharim asea. Give her the fruit of her hands, and let her deeds praise her at the gates. Elaine's deeds will continue to speak for her, in her children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and in every life brightened by her kindness. In a moment, we will hear Mama Rainbow, the song filled with the colors of her life, wise and funny, tough and tender, traditional and adventurous, deeply Jewish and deeply human. Zichrona livracha. May Elaine's memory be a blessing, and may her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. It is my honor to call on Julie to sing a song.
Hi, everyone. What do you give to the woman who has given all her life and love to you? What do you give to the reason you are living? I could window shop the world before I'm through. Mama, a rainbow, mama, a sunrise, mama, the moon to wear. That's not good enough, no, not good enough, not for mama. Mama, a palace, diamonds like doorknobs, mountains of gold to spare. That's not rich enough, no, not rich enough, not for mama. Mama, a lifetime crowded with laughter. That's not long enough, not half long enough. What can I give you that I can give you? What will your present be? Mama, young and beautiful, always young and beautiful, that's the mama I'll always see. That's for mama, with love from me.
We are still looking for a Chazan at Temple Bethel. Please rise for the memorial prayer.
אל מלא רחמים, שוכן במרומים, אמצא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים. את נשמת הדסה בת אברהם לייסר וחנה ליבה, שהלכה לעולמה, בגן עדן תמנוחתה, הנה בעל הרחמים. אז תראה בסתר כנפיה לעולמים, וצרור צרור החיים את נשמתה, אדוני הוא נחלתה. ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר